Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Praveena ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to have this workshop with you. Now, I would love to start this workshop with a quote. In every crisis, doubt, or confusion, take the higher path, the path of compassion, courage, understanding, and love. And this is what our teachers and our front warriors, the medical fraternity, had done during the time of COVID. A big salute to all the teachers out there. Now, the topic of my workshop is challenges faced by teachers and students during COVID-19 and finding solutions. Before I start with this, I would just like to give a heartfelt message to all my teachers, and this is also from one of the teachers only. No tuition fees, no maintenance fees, no school fees. Online class, oh, that's a joke. What about us? We, the teachers. With the COVID-19 situation, a lot of teachers faced a very unique challenge. No, it's not the sari challenge, nor it is the motherhood challenge. The challenge demanded that they go through digital transformation overnight. Teachers said, challenge accepted. Now, many of the teachers, even I would include myself into that, were not tech savvy. We did not know ABC about the tech. And one fine day, we were told that you have to prepare all the PPTs, you have to prepare all your lessons for the online classes through the digital platform only. But the teachers very gracefully, they accepted this challenge. They hid their tech fears behind a simple smile because children's learning was at stake. The challenge demanded that they have to open their house for public viewing because the teachers teaching from their houses, and each household has its own environment, and it is very difficult to expose it to everybody, to all the parents of the students. But the teachers very gracefully accepted the challenge. They suppressed their inhibitions, foregone their privacy because children's learning was at stake. So a teacher is always ready to sacrifice everything to make the students' learning very, very easy. Now, the challenge also demanded that they have to make do with limited or no resources. Most of the schools during these days, they have smart boards, they have smart classes, they have so many resources. But at home, the teachers had very limited resources, but still the knowledge was to be imparted to the students. The knowledge had to go to the students. The syllabus had to be completed. And the teachers said very happily again, challenge accepted. They started working overtime to plan for teaching without any resources because children's learning was at stake. The challenge also demanded that they may not be paid their full salaries. Most of the teachers, because the parents, they were not paying the school fees, they were going through tough times. So the teachers were also not getting their salaries on time. The teachers again said, challenge accepted. They started worrying deep in their hearts about their own families because many of them, they are also the breadwinners of their family. They are the only persons who are working. So it was a big challenge for them. But look at the big heart of the teachers. They were undeterred because the children's learning was at stake. And it continues, the challenge demanded that they may need to teach 30 odd parents watching over their shoulders, judging them. Now, when the teachers were teaching in the class, there was no one to judge them, except maybe at times there are some principal or vice principal or some other teachers sitting with them or judging them. But in that case, there were so many parents who were judging them, who were watching them all the time, and they were looking at each and every move of theirs. Like they were under criticism by the parents all the time, that and every little thing of theirs was being tested. Their voice modulation, their pronunciation, their grammar, knowledge, love and warmth. Many a times the parents would say that the teacher was being loud in the class. Many a time they would say that there was some background noises in the home. So the teacher very, very gracefully accepted this challenge also, because it did not matter to them, because the children's learning was at stake. And my appreciation and respect for these relentless fighters, I cannot express this in words. I really want to salute all the gurus across the world who continue to take on the challenges that were piled on them, because children's learning was at stake and they really, really cared for their students. Kudos to the teaching fraternity who led by example. I really salute to your relentless spirit. Now, so what all challenges did you all face during the pandemic? Yes, there were so many challenges that they had to face. But even after the pandemic, the struggle continued. It was not that easy. The struggle had not ended. Now, what all challenges were faced by the teachers during the pandemic? The teachers, they were not tech savvy. That I just shared with you, that the teachers, they did not know much about the technology. They did not know how to prepare online lesson, take online classes. They did not know how to connect in a Zoom call. Even I didn't know much about that when COVID-19 started. I myself learned a lot many things during this pandemic, though it has been a learning, but at that time it was a big hindrance. Now, teaching in home environment when all family members were at home. See, at home, when we all worked from home during this pandemic, but there were children at home. Now, the home environment is always not conducive for this kind of teaching or learning process. There were many teachers who did not have a separate room of theirs where they could teach, where they could, enclose themselves and start teaching the students in that room only. But their family was also disturbed during this whole process. The children were around, they had small children, they have had some old people, they also had sick people at home whom they had to take care of. They themselves at times were not well, but the teaching process continued. Limited resources, there were no blackboards, no smart boards, no teaching learning resources. Though, like I am teaching now, or we are having a session now, we are like quite interactive, but in the class, the students make a lot of noise at their homes. Many of them, they would switch off their videos. Many of them, they would mute their videos. The teacher kept on asking the questions and the students did not answer. Many of the students, they did not find this online learning process very interesting. So they also wanted to, run away from this. They also did not want to learn through online teaching. So teacher had to take care that each and every student was there in the class from the beginning till the end. She had to, look that all the students were present every time. And then most of the teachers, I would say rather, that they were not paid their full salaries. And there were months when they were not paid the salaries at all. Now, this was a big crisis for the teachers too, because they were the only breadwinners. Many of them, they were the only breadwinners of the families. And in the government system, if we look at it, many teachers, they were working as corona warriors. So they were like working day in and day out. They had their duties. Even during the COVID, we know that many of the teachers, they had their election duties. So their own health was at stake. And even then, they were not paid the salaries. So they put their lives at stake, their whole families at stake. Even then, they were not paid the salaries. Why not? Why shouldn't we salute them for their spirit? Many times teachers themselves or their family members were not well. They had to take care of their family members, but they had to teach. There were, no rooms for the isolation, not for the patients in the house. How could they have a room for themselves to teach? But they had to teach. Parents of the students were always scrutinizing the teaching process and were judging them for every little move. Like I myself am a parent of two children, so I could also see how the teachers were teaching and how the parents were giving the feedbacks. The parents were literally many a time scrutinizing the teachers for every that the teacher is not well dressed, some sounds are coming, the child of the or the baby of the teacher has come to disturb the class. So these were the things which we should have gracefully accepted when the teachers were teaching from home. They were giving their best. So these things should have been gracefully accepted, but they were not. They were being scrutinized all the time. And signal issues. There were signal issues. Right now also I had a signal issue, could not connect at 11. So these are technical issues wherein we can't help. But again, the parents had issues, the school administration had issues with the teachers that they were not able to log in time, and they were not able to start the class in time. The syllabus is lagging. And data expenses. Now, many a times the teacher had to incur the expenses on their own. They had to pay the data expenses from their pocket. And also, like many a times, the teachers were called in the school during the COVID times also. So this was a big, tough time for the teachers. The teachers had to really suffer a lot during this time. So now I would like to move to the next slide, and wherein I would like to tell what challenges did the students face. The students also faced a lot of challenges during this time. During the pandemic, the children were mentally stressed. There was a lot of mental stress because parents expected them to study, and they also had never studied online for such a long period of time. Yes, they had started having, smart board. They used to have some smart board classes or smart classes, but it was not all the time. It was during very few days. Otherwise, they had one-on-one interaction with the students. They had one-on-one interaction with their mates, their schoolmates, their classmates, and teaching becomes fun in such an environment where the students of the same age group, they study, they ask questions, they have fun. After every period, the children have some fun time till the time the teacher comes, they interact, and that's a mental stress buster for them. But during these times, the children were under a lot of pressure, specifically grade 10 and 12 students who had to appear for their boards, and they were not at all clear whether the boards would be happening or not. Inability to concentrate. Now, concentration was a big problem because when we study online and also in a home environment, that is not conducive to learning. We all know that if it was not conducive for the teachers to teach from home, it was not conducive for the students to learn from home. And it was like excessive screen time. Students were being exposed to the screen for a very long time. For hours together, they had to study, though the government had limited the number of hours of teaching, but the schools at the same time had syllabus to complete. They wanted the children to understand the things. They even had some extra classes for the weaker students who were not able to grasp the subject. Now, parents always wanted the children to study, even if it is online. They would never wanted their children to miss the classes. They wanted them to be there. So it was like long hours of screen time, which hampered their mental and physical health. Inability to understand the concepts completely. The children were not able to understand the concepts completely because there were limited resources. There was like the teacher also could not express himself in a very detailed or in a very nice manner because there were so many things which had to be explained, but the resources were limited. That it was like one-on-one interaction with the students was difficult. If the teacher used to ask that open page number 68 or 58, the children were not able to get that page, go to that line, go to that question. It took them a lot of time. So students were not able to understand the concepts completely. and the digital medium could not replicate interpersonal interaction. Now, this is the beauty of a classroom system. No, like we are envisaging that in the future we will have some uh, robots or some some mechanical teaching in the classrooms, but still we have people arguing in favor of classroom interactions. Why? Because one-on-one interaction is so very important, and the warmth of a teacher being there in the class, the love it shows, the when the teacher is in the class, she can look at the faces of the children and understand their worries, their queries, their questions. So that thing was really missing, and the peer interaction was also missing. So this could not replicate the interpersonal interactions. Space issues in smaller houses where there were many kids in joint families, it was really difficult for like middle class people. Like we have a small house, we do not have much rooms in the house, so it was really difficult to give one room to each child. Like if a family has 3 children, it was really difficult to spare 3 child, different classes going on in the same room. It is difficult, there was different noises coming on from each end. So space issue was a very, very big thing in joint families. So even like in a teacher's home, there were children, there were elderly people who were making some noises, or they were talking in the background. Similarly, the same issue was there with the students also, the parents, the children, the other people in the house, they were making certain noises and the child was not able to understand. No separate devices for the children in the family. So again, if it was like if there are 2 or 3 children in the family who were studying, the parents could not afford 3 different devices, but the different classes were going on for the children. So there was a big learning gap. Inability of and no access to digital infrastructure, including internet, laptops, and phone. Now, there was no digital infrastructure at homes. Many of our homes still do not have an internet connection. They do not have separate phones for the children. They do not have separate laptops for the children. It is like it was a big demand for the parents. Like it was a big thing for the parents to have laptops and phones for all their children. Unreliable electricity supplies. When the electricity was gone, it means the session was gone, the class was gone, and the class could not be repeated to the children. The concept which was lost, the gap which was created. In conducive home environments that I talked about earlier also, it is not that every family has a separate room for each of the child, and there are each family has its own system. There are children's younger siblings in the home, or old people in the home who don't realize that some class is going on, and they cannot be taught this thing that the class is going on. So you have to be really quiet. So the environment was not conducive for learning at home. Lack of clarity on examination. 10th and 12th class board students suffered a lot because of this, because there was no clarity by the government till the end. And even for the like in the exams in the schools also, they were also not much clarity. There wasn't much clarity about that also. And if the family members were sick, there was stress because of that also. Children had a lot of stress because of this also, because the family members were sick. And this COVID-19 had been very, very cruel. Many children lost their parents, and they were so stressed. They were going through depression, and they could not take their exams. Many of them, they could not take their exam because of this. Now, not only the COVID times were challenged, but after the pandemic also, it was a big challenge. The inability to concentrate, the children were not able to concentrate after the pandemic also, because now they were like, they felt at ease with the home environment only. They did not want to go to the school. They could not sit in the classroom for long hours, because now they were in the habit of taking smaller classes, smaller sessions, and be at home. And then many a times they were in the habit of missing the classes. They used to miss the class. They in the online teaching system, the teachers, there was no, they would mark their presence, and then they would move away. Right, so they would move away from the class. They would leisurely take the classes. Now they could not sit in the class, and they missed their parents. They wanted to be with their family. They wanted that this kind of learning should continue. Slow writing skills. Students had developed slow writing because they were not writing during the time when the teacher was teaching in the online class. They used to write really slowly and sometimes miss that also. And short attention span, because they were taking, the classes were of half an hour, 20 minutes. So the attention span was also less. And because there was no interaction between the teacher and the student, and the teacher couldn't see whether the child was there in the class or not. She couldn't make it, make it sure that the student was there. So they used to be around, they used to play around, they used to miss the class. So their attention span also decreased. Ill health. The students also suffered a lot during the COVID because of their health, because of the health of their near and dear ones. And it was after the COVID also, many of them, they were in depression, a state of depression. And it was rightly, they were the feelings that they were having, they were really correct, they were really right, because they had lost their near and dear ones. Many families lost 3 to 4 members in this COVID-19. So definitely many children lost their parents. It was a big loss, and it could not be like during the COVID, they were feeling this, they were having this feeling even after the pandemic, that stress continued, that feeling of depression, the feeling of loss continued. Behavioral changes, there were many behavioral changes in the students because of the stress.
Sorry to interrupt you, Miss Sabina.
Yeah,
We are running out of time. Like, we have some questions lined up.
sure.
If you can finish it in a
Yes,
couple
sure.
minutes,
Sure,
please.
sure, sure. So the handwriting was also impacted, and there were learning gaps also. So now what should, quickly I would say, what should be done so that the students and teachers are at ease. Schools must allow teachers more autonomy and promote meaningful curriculum beyond marks and test scores. For a year or so, the students should not be tested. They should not be given any exams, and the teachers should have autonomy to, to explain the topics which are really, really important. They should lay more stress on those topics which need students' attention, and students should be welcome to the school. The teachers should be more warm, they should be more reassuring, and they should make sure that the classroom are the spaces where children can shed their anxiety. Teachers should act as a counselor. They should be like more like friends to the students, and they should make it imperative that revision and support system, that should be very, very strong. The teachers should be able to extract best out of the orientation sessions which should be held for them, and the teachers should be given a very free and creative classroom environment. The teachers should help the children build on their own knowledge and understanding. The whole thing is that teachers should be given liberty for a year or two, and the teachers should shift their pedagogic practices, and they should not follow a rigid curriculum. They should take children out for gallery walks, more kind of play learning should be there, activity learning should be there, so the students get back to the system. So this is what we want from the children, that and the teachers, that they should be help the children into meaningful learning. And I would like to answer the question. I would like to thank you all for the session.
Yes, ma'am. So we have 5 questions here. I will read them out. Most of the points are already covered, but the first question goes like this. What do you think is the most significant challenge that teachers are facing nowadays?
The biggest challenge the teachers are facing, that there are learning gaps. The students, they are not very clear with the concept. Like if a student is in grade 4, during the grade 2 and grade 3, they were, it was COVID. These were COVID times. So the student is not clear with the concept of grade 2 and grade 3. So he or she is not able to understand what is being taught in the class in grade 4. So there are huge learning gaps. The teacher needs to fill in those learning gaps, and that requires a lot of time, energy, and a lot of cooperation from the parents and the school administration side.
Sure. Can you close your PPT and expand your camera screen, please, so that the viewers can see you?
Yeah, sure. Give me a minute. I'm doing that.
Sure. Yeah, Thank you, ma'am. So, how has COVID pandemic affected teaching and learning, as you have explained? You just cover it in brief, please.
Yeah, the COVID has impacted teaching learning in a very big way. That again, the same thing is there. The students, they are not in the habit of sitting for long hours into the school. They are like, now they are coming back to the system, but it took the teachers a long time and the students a long time to get back into the system. The students were in the habit of sitting at home, getting attention from their parents. I myself saw my children. The weaning process was really very difficult for the students. It was like first time they're going to the school. Like my children went to the school after nursery class. The similar kind of feeling was there when they went to school after 2 long years. So this was a big thing. And the other thing, for the learning gaps, the students had their learning gaps. They had their concentration problem. They did not want to sit in the class for hours together. They did not, because they felt lost. My child, he has German as a subject, so he felt that he did not know anything in German. So there were so many learning gaps. It took him a year. Now, after a year, he has taken some extra classes in the school. Now he's fine with that. So similar kind of thing most of the teachers and the students, they faced.
Right, ma'am. So, how should we overcome the challenges faced by teaching profession in general? I think they're talking about the question in general.
Yes, see, again, a lot of support. First thing, the teachers, they always have been geared up. They always show their spirit. They have been showing their spirit till now. They have to show their spirit again. They have to accept that they really have to work hard again for a year or so. They have to really work hard. They have to take their children. They have to make their lessons very, very interactive so that the students uh, are back to the class, back to the normal, and they understand the concepts in a better way. Second thing comes from the administration side. They have to give the teachers a lot of leverage, and they have to give the teachers a lot of liberty to teach those topics which they feel the class as a whole is lacking in a more detailed manner. And so that it's like more stress for a year should not be laid on the curriculum. Let the teachers take the topics, let the teacher explain the concepts in a very detailed manner, so that the students are at par with their learning of the class. And the third thing comes from the parents side. Parents really need to understand the teachers. They also have to work really hard. They have to work with their children, and again for a year, till they come back to the normal. So basically it's a joint effort of the students, the teachers, and the parents that will bear fruits.
Okay, ma'am. So they're asking about your personal challenge. What is the biggest challenge you faced during flexible learning?
See, the biggest challenge I really accepted during the session also, that I myself was not very tech savvy.
Right.
I had to learn a lot, many things during these COVID times. And now, I am at ease with these kind of sessions. Like earlier, I used to, I'm basically a resource person also. So I used to go to the schools, have one-on-one interaction. I miss that interaction during the webinars, during the online. I myself miss that thing. So that it becomes really interactive. You get to know what whether the teachers are getting my points. They are learning what I'm trying to help them out with. And I myself learn a lot during the sessions. So that thing I found really missing. But yes, I now feel at ease with these webinars and these workshops also.
Okay, ma'am. So this is related to students. Why is it important for the teachers to talk to students?
Yes, this is really, really very important for the teachers to talk to the students, because this pandemic has really been bad. Many of the students, they lost their parents. They were in really, they were in real depression. It took them a lot of time. It will rather take them a lot of time to come out of this. And during those times, Pravina ma'am, no one of us was able to express or take out our grief properly. We all have a system in our families, in Hindu families and Indian families, that we mourn the dead for a long time, or like so. Nobody was able to mourn the dead in the family even. Kyuki itna zyada, there was so much of the chaos we felt. We could not even complete the rituals that we do. So once that process happens, now that morning process also has a lot of, I would say, benefits, because it is um, uh, we are able to vent out our feelings, we cry, we get a support from the family. But during these times, there was nobody to support. People could not come and visit their loved ones. So first thing is that had a very, very deep impression, not only on the students, but every one of us. I'm
That's
sorry.
true. No
The
problem.
second thing is the inability to concentrate. The students were not at all able, they don't have that concentration now. They cannot sit in the class for hours and interact and study. Now they are they feel more happy, conducive in their home environments. Though so many things were there were learning gaps, the children were not ready to learn. So a teacher needs to understand the emotional needs of the students. That's how classroom teaching is much more important, because it helps the teacher to look at the face. The teacher is like is a psychologist, she's a psychiatrist, she's a counselor, because she knows what is going on in the mind of the children. She can best, just by looking at the face of the students, analyze what has happened to the student. So the teachers need to talk a lot to the students, help them out with their worries, talk to the parents what the child is feeling, talk to the administration how the child is feeling, and on the basis of that, the child should be treated in the class. She can talk to the peer group also. See, this child is feeling aloof, this child is not feeling good, this child has not been able to understand this concept. So she can peer learning is also very important. She can make a buddy, she can make one child sit with that child, understand ki you sit with this child, make him understand this thing, help him out with this topic, or anything like that. So it is really very, very important for the teachers to talk to the students during these times.
Right, ma'am. So that ends the question answer round, ma'am. Thanks for it's a very sensitive topic and a very emotional topic also. And you spoke very well on this, like after a long time, about COVID, though we are back into the normal session. So we thank the audience for patiently listening and waiting. Since because of the technical delay, we had to start a little late. And India Schoolness and schoolreformer.com. Thank you for patiently answering all the questions, ma'am. And we'll end the session now.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the audience, and thank you, Praveena ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to come and express my views. Thank you. I'll be looking forward to more interactive sessions with you like this. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.